In the shadows of myth and reality, monsters stir. From ancient legends to modern nightmares, we explore the creatures that haunt our stories, and sometimes our lives. Welcome to Among Monsters podcast, where the line between man and monsters is thinner than you think.
The Werewolf Butcher, Jack Spillman's Ritual of Blood and Shadow. I'm Damien Vale, and tonight on Among Monsters, we don't just observe the monstrous acts. We peel back the very skin of a predator whose cruelty transcended mere murder. He didn't simply kill, he hunted. He stalked through the unsuspecting, quiet towns of Washington state under the cold gaze of the moonlight, his obsessions dark, primal, and steeped in macabre ritual. He coveted more than the mere ending of a life. He yearned to consume it, to conquer its essence, to achieve a terrifying metamorphosis, to become something far more and yet far less than human, something utterly, brutally animal. This is the chilling, true story of Jack Owen Spillman, a man who, in the twisted confines of his own mind, fancied himself a werewolf, a beast cloaked in human skin, a monster who left behind scenes of such unspeakable horror, so meticulously arranged in their depravity, that even hardened detectives, steeled by years of confronting darkness, recoiled in disbelief. The press, grasping for a name to contain such unspeakable evil, dubbed him the Werewolf Butcher. But names, even ones steeped in myth and dread, can hardly contain monsters such as this. Wenatchee, the Apple Valley's veil of innocence. Wenatchee, Washington, in the spring of 1994. It was a tranquil valley town, nestled amidst the verdant embrace of apple orchards, its sleepy neighborhoods exuding an aura of peace and ingrained trust among neighbors. A place where children could play freely and doors might be left unlocked. But beneath that calm, a profound, unspeakable darkness was stirring, a malevolent force ready to shatter the illusion. It was April 16th, just after the gentle quiet of Easter, when the first tremor of terror struck. Rachael Carver, a vibrant 9-year-old girl, vanished from the supposed sanctuary of her own bedroom. Her mother had tucked her in that evening, a tender ritual like any other. The next morning, her small bed lay empty. No note, no hurried farewell, no obvious signs of forced entry, no shattered window panes to betray the intrusion. Just a missing child, a void where laughter should have been, and the dull, agonizing ache of dread tightening around her family's hearts. 2 days later, a gruesome discovery ripped through the valley's tranquility, changing everything, transforming sorrow into unadulterated horror. In a remote ravine near the town of East Wenatchee, amidst the natural beauty of the landscape, police found Rachael's body. She had been brutally raped, meticulously mutilated, and then left posed in a chillingly deliberate way, her small arms stretched out, her legs carefully arranged, her young form laid out like some ancient macabre offering. But it was not merely the sheer brutality of the act that haunted the hardened detectives most. It was the unnerving precision of it. This was not the chaotic frenzy of rage. This was not the random eruption of violence. This was ritual. The beast within, Spillman's dark genesis. And into this unfolding nightmare stepped Jack Owen Spillman, Born August 30th, 1969, Spillman grew up within the unassuming borders of Washington state. His early life, a shadowed canvas, was marked by the pervasive hues of loneliness, an ingrained sense of cruelty, and a burgeoning, consuming obsession. As a teenager, long before his crimes shocked the world, he was already engaging in bizarre and deeply sadistic behaviors. He tortured animals, their cries unheard, their suffering a perverse fascination. He indulged in chilling fantasies of domination and death, his mind constructing intricate scenarios of power. And, perhaps most tellingly, he became increasingly fixated on wolves, not as creatures of nature, but as symbols of raw, unrestrained, predatory nature. To his twisted mind, wolves were not symbols of wilderness or primal freedom. They were the ultimate embodiment of power, unquestioned, untamed, unfeeling. He began to call himself a werewolf, whispering chilling desires to anyone who would listen, boasting that he wanted to hunt like an animal. He truly believed that to truly kill, to truly dominate, he had to transcend his human form and become the predator, shedding the last vestiges of human empathy. His dark fantasies escalated, festering in the unseen corners of his mind, and inevitably so did his crimes. By the late 1980s and early 90s, Spillman had accumulated a long, unremarkable rap sheet: petty assault, uninspired burglary, common theft, and disturbing instances of sexual misconduct. He was a familiar face in and out of local jails, largely ignored by a media focused on grander crimes, written off as a pathetic loser, drifting aimlessly through society's margins. But what no one knew, what no one suspected, was that he had been meticulously preparing. He had been studying anatomy, delving into the intricate workings of the human body. He was learning about surgical tools, their precise applications. He was practicing how to restrain, how to dissect, how to leave no living witnesses. He didn't want to simply end a life. He wanted to transform through murder, to achieve a dark metamorphosis, to consume and to conquer. And in April 1994, the creature he had groomed within finally made its brutal, definitive move. The ritual begins: Rachael's sacrifice. Police immediately suspected with a cold certainty that Rachael Carver's killer possessed a chilling expertise. The cuts on her body were unnervingly precise. The deliberate positioning of her small form, laid out like some macabre offering, suggested a deeply twisted, preconceived fantasy. This was the work of a mind that found meaning in defilement. During the intense, frantic early days of the investigation, an anonymous tip drifted in, a whisper from the shadows. A local woman claimed a man named Jack Spillman had been acting strangely, his quiet demeanor punctuated by unnerving outbursts. He had been bragging about how easy it would be to snatch a girl, his words chillingly prescient. He had also made deeply disturbing comments about sacrifices and, more grotesquely, about drinking blood. Police, acting on this fragile thread, brought him in for questioning. At first, true to his outward persona, he was quiet, polite, cooperative. But something about his demeanor, a profound, unnerving calmness, a chilling detachment, sent shivers down the spines of the seasoned officers. There was no visible agitation, no flicker of fear. A predator's mask, honed to perfection. They let him go, for the moment lacking the definitive evidence needed to hold him. What the detectives didn't yet fully comprehend, what haunted them only in the periphery of their instincts, was that they had not just a murderer on their hands. They had a serial killer in progress. A man who didn't just commit violence, but a man who worshipped the very act, who found profound, terrifying meaning in it. In the harrowing weeks following Rachel's murder, police ramped up their surveillance on Spillman, their suspicions solidifying. They discovered a chilling pattern. He had previously stalked other women and children, a silent phantom observing from the shadows. They unearthed his personal effects and found notebooks, pages filled with detailed violent fantasies, some explicitly describing consuming human organs, others sketching out grotesque scenarios where he transformed into a wolf after the ritual of the kill. Then came the definitive break, a thread of undeniable evidence. Inside a vehicle Spillman had access to, meticulously preserved, detectives found bloodstains. These microscopic traces, put to the test of burgeoning forensic science, matched Rachael Carver's DNA. It was a silent, irrefutable scream from the grave. That small biological signature was the beginning of the end for Jack Owen Spillman. They arrested him on May 5, 1994. And that's when the true, unadulterated horror began to emerge, spilling forth from the depths of his twisted mind. The Journal of Madness, Confessions of a Wolf. During interrogation, Spillman, ever the deceptive chameleon, initially denied everything, his quiet politeness a shield against the mounting accusations. But investigators, relentless in their pursuit of truth, had already found Rachael Carver's blood, a silent, damning witness, on his clothing, staining the interior of his truck, and on various items within his home. And then they discovered what would become the most chilling, most profound piece of evidence: a personal journal. In its pages, Jack Spillman had meticulously documented his descent into darkness, his every thought and impulse laid bare. He wrote extensively with chilling clarity about his delusion of becoming a werewolf through the grotesque act of sacrifice. He had penned in his own hand these chilling pronouncements. To be a wolf is to dominate, to feed. Only through blood can I become what I am meant to be. And with a perverse logic that defied human understanding. Children are the purest prey. To kill a child is to kill innocence. To take it is to become untouchable. Page after page was filled not just with chilling prose, but with grotesque, amateurish drawings of dismembered bodies and detailed anatomical diagrams. He had studied with terrifying diligence how to extract organs, how to sever ligaments, and how to pose the kill for maximum symbolic power, fulfilling his own dark liturgy. It wasn't just sick. It was terrifyingly methodical, profoundly obsessive. And prosecutors knew with a dawning horror they weren't just dealing with a random murderer. They were staring into the abyss of a ritual predator. The escalation, the Huffman murders, and the unseen trophy. But the terror, the silent reign of Jack Spillman's depravity did not cease with Rachael. Investigators meticulously connected Spillman to another pair of brutal slayings, the 1995 double murder of Rita Huffman, 48, and her daughter Mandy Huffman, 15, brutally killed in their East Wenatchee home. Spillman had broken in, a silent invader in the night, and patiently waited for them to arrive, for the ritual to begin. He then murdered both mother and daughter. Again, their bodies found staged, stripped, and horrifically mutilated. In Mandy's case, the unspeakable horror escalated. The killer had removed organs from her young body, a grim testament to a morbid form of trophy-taking, or a perverse attempt to fulfill some twisted transformation fantasy. DNA from that crime scene, the silent whispers of the dead, also unequivocally matched Jack Spillman. He was subsequently charged with 3 counts of aggravated murder, the weight of his crimes finally descending upon him. And this time there was no denying the mountain of evidence, no weaving of deceptive tales to escape the cold grip of justice. In 1996, facing the stark reality of the death penalty, Jack Owen Spillman pleaded guilty to avoid it, a final act of self-preservation. He received 3 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring that the Werewolf Butcher would forever remain caged. At sentencing, prosecutors, their voices heavy with the burden of the unspeakable, stated they had never in their entire careers encountered a crime so dark, so deliberately symbolic, so profoundly inhuman. The court, in a rare but necessary act, sealed many of the gruesome details of the crime scenes from public record, shielding society from the extreme nature of the mutilation and staging. Even seasoned detectives, those hardened souls who had walked through countless horrors, reportedly requested transfers after handling the unbearable weight of this case, their spirits bruised by the profound evil they witnessed. Jack Spillman remains incarcerated in Washington State Penitentiary. He rarely grants interviews to reporters, his silence a final act of defiance. He has offered no real confession, no genuine explanation for the depths of his cruelty, and certainly no apology to the families he shattered. He continues to draw macabre images of wolves, of vicious claws, of full moons, and of women tied in grotesque poses. Prison officials meticulously monitor his mail, but, by all accounts, he is still utterly consumed by the terrifying identity he painstakingly created for himself. A wolf, a butcher, a beast. The monster's mythology, a warning echoes. What truly sets Jack Spillman apart from many known serial killers is not just the sheer brutality of his crimes. It is the chilling, self-constructed mythology he meticulously wove around them. He didn't kill out of impulsive rage or random opportunity. He killed for a profound, twisted sense of ascension. He yearned to become something more than merely human, and in that relentless, horrifying pursuit, he became something far, far less. A predator whose dark fantasy bled, literally, into horrifying reality, who systematically took young, innocent lives to feed a delusion, and in doing so, carved his name into the annals of the darkest monsters we've ever encountered. We remember Rachael Carver, age 9, Mandy Huffman, age 15, Rita Huffman, age 48. Their lives were stolen not just by murder, but by the chilling madness of a man who truly believed that pain, mutilation, and the consumption of innocence could transform him into a god, an untouchable beast. Their names are forever carved into the heart of this nightmare, etched into the collective memory of the valley they once graced. and they serve as a chilling reminder that monsters don't need fangs or fur to terrorize. Sometimes they wear human faces. This has been Among Monsters. I'm Damien Vale. Until next time, trust your instincts, because sometimes what walks beside us isn't quite human. Not in blood, not in spirit, and certainly not in purpose.
Thank you for listening to Among Monsters podcast. Find more episodes of Among Monsters podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, or anywhere premium podcasts exist. Email us at amongmonsterspodcast@gmail.com.